So the whole idea of Matchathon 2020 is to encourage participation from student and startup communities. And we are looking for tech-backed solutions. And the whole idea of starting the whole webinar series was to encourage students and startups, even during tough times, as to how we, as how entrepreneurship community can survive. And that's exactly why you are here today, Rahul, to give us all a talk about it. So first, I would like to welcome Sriram, who is the founder. He's just going to say a few words today. Sriram, over to you.
Perfect. So, well, guys, welcome to the launch of the Matchathon, which is an initiative of Park Ventures. So basically, with what's happening in the world right now, the new norm is basically changed. I think we all have to adjust to a new way of living going forward. And we've all seen and experienced the disruption that has happened to our social lives, our personal lives, our professional lives. And now we know that now this is something which is here to stay for the next year. And the whole idea basically is of this Matchathon is basically for people to come up with innovative solutions, how businesses and life can move on despite the situation that we have. So there's quite a lot of companies that have come up with quite a lot of innovative ways. I mean, we are doing one right now, for example, just move everything instead of a physical auditorium to actually doing everything over WebEx, right? Similarly, schools have moved online, offices have, moved to Microsoft Teams, but there's still quite a lot of businesses where it's difficult to do this. But I think if they have access to the right tools, if they have access to the right technology, if they have access to the right innovative ideas, not only can we these businesses get back on their feet, but we will also be able to improve the quality of the life that people are living right now, make it more safe, for them to be able to move on. So the idea is to hear from people what ideas they have, and anything which is viable, which is useful. We will, of course, support it, we will fund it, and then we will grow it into the right product or the service as we move forward. So that's the context of this initiative.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Sriram. And now it's over to Sita, our CEO of InnoPark Ventures, and she will take it forward and introduce the speaker today.
Thank you, Sriram, for that. It was nice to see you briefly. It's things have changed now. No more offices. We don't see each other regularly. It's always over calls, multiple calls. So it was nice to see you there. Thanks for setting the context, and welcome, Rahul. Thanks so much for taking the time today to be with us.
I had no option, Sita. Joe can call you CEO. I call you CBO, Chief Bully Officer.
Thank you. I'll take it as a compliment coming from you. So I've had the privilege and pleasure of knowing you for the last 5 years, and I can say one can learn more than just entrepreneurship lessons. We very fondly are known as the Pehelwan entrepreneur. And for people who want to know more about that, please Google Pehelwan entrepreneur and read all about Rahul's amazing story. Rahul, I'll do a quick introduction because I have to. And I think if I have to read out all your qualifications and all your,
Don't.
everything, then it's going to take a lot of time. So I'll do a quick run through. Say, founder Startup Studio India, which is a fantastic initiative, and I think it's the first incubator which is in a regional language, right? Because you're focusing on tier 2, tier 3 cities to find innovation and entrepreneurs mindset from those cities, right? Director and CEO of Sun & Sands Advisors Japan, founder and CEO of the India Network, which I know has helped thousands of entrepreneurs, director and GP Scale Ventures Fund, former co-founder NDTV Indian Roots, that we all know. From growing it from 85 lakhs to 85 million. That's what you did in 2 years.
84. 8 lakh jara kar diya.
Okay, 84 lakhs to 85 million.
That time that 1 lakh was very important.
Yes, still is. So welcome. I think I'll get started on. Thanks for asking us to do our homework. I think you said, first go and speak to entrepreneurs and students and then find out what they want to know. I don't want it to be just a Gyan session. So I think the first thing that we'll start with, Rahul, is because at times like this, everything is uncertain. We've spoken to a number of students, a number of first-time entrepreneurs, and I think for them this conversation will be exceptionally useful. While they had very doubts about day-to-day activities, and we'll come to that slowly. But the first thing is mental health, right? What I saw as a common pattern amongst students and first-time entrepreneurs is a lot of questions around, they asked questions, but it was filled with fear, anxiety, and uncertainty and all of that. Mm-hmm. So if you could tell us a little bit about what can we do? It is something that happens to me as well. Not every day is motivating, and I get to speak to Shriram and Rahul and Joanna on, webinars and on a face-to-face call, right? Yeah. So if you could shed some light on that.
So I tell you, Sita, like this whole situation of, you can call it COVID, you can call it pandemic. One positive side for me has been, I've been very focused on my own immunity. So I was stuck in the Taj Lands End for 82 days. And the one good part of being stuck in one place was I got very disciplined by default because my meals were coming at a particular time. So I started doing yoga, I caught up on my reading, but I was also on an average doing about 4 to 6 hours of walking because I was on calls with people, mostly wide variety from politicians to startup guys to my ex-colleagues to people from my chawl, some of them on the other side of legality as a political correct word. And that was the only one thing, was this whole thing of mental health. And I used to give this example, I still do. What most kids who are young kids, when they look at a so-called influencer, celebrity, or people they think have made it in life, they think once I've gone past this, everything is set. So that was my thing also. So when I was struggling and I was doing this Zoom call with the college campus, and I was sitting on the window and I said, this is a glass. And suddenly I said, you know what? I just realized that I'm sitting in this suite on the 25th floor of Taj Lands End. But not many years back, I was on the other side of that glass, on bandstand, standing on the road. And I always used to think that the day I make it there on the other side of that glass, I arrive or whatever, I'll be happy. All my problems will be solved. And I said, it's not true. The problems I had when I was standing on that road was 3 rupees. If I have $3, I can take a bus ride instead of walking to Bandra station. Train mein to hum without ticket hi jate the. I can eat a vada pav. So that 3 rupees ka stress tha. Now that I'm on the other side of the glass, I have to pay Lands End ka bill, I have to pay for my espresso, I have to pay salaries for my team, gaadi mein diesel dalna, So your challenges only get amplified. Okay. And one thing I learned from a very awesome rock star friend of mine called Neeta Bhushan, who's this emotional coach in Silicon Valley. And Neeta kept connected to something called imposter syndrome. And I'm so surprised that a lot of people are not aware of this term. It's a medical term. And imposter syndrome is very simple, that even somebody like an Elon Musk keeps getting it once in a while. That the world treats you in a certain, like today you are introducing me as this so-called arrived in life kind of a person, but a lot of times even I have a doubt about myself, that am I genuinely deserving this thing? Am I enough? Okay. And everybody struggles for it, from a student in college saying, will I pass? And unfortunately for a lot of college kids today, their concern is will I get placement? Will I get an internship? Will I have a life after if I don't get enough marks? Everybody struggles with it. Okay. My learning of struggling for a meal a day, to being in a small school, to not having money for shoes, to whatever challenges I have, is ultimately most of the fears that we have are unfounded. It's just here. Okay. A lot of times it is the environment that we are in. it is the media that we consume, and it is the people around us who amplify whatever we have. So all our fears mostly get amplified, thinking, oh, this has happened, that guy. And we get, if like today I was chatting with a friend just before this, and she kept saying, I saw you funded this startup, and I'm now feeling bad that, my startup is not funded. She went on and on and on. So at every level in life, everybody of us has these fears, and most of it is just unfounded. Okay. Today, there is a situation that there is COVID. Okay. You cannot change what happens to you, only change your reaction to it. Okay. The world is fundamentally had a reboot in my case, if I would like to say that. But if you look back in history, people have gone through worse things. Okay. So this year, for a lot of college kids, if you don't get an internship, if you don't get a job, it's not the end of the world. And honestly, if I look back at my journey, whenever I've not got what I wanted, something really awesome has come instead of that. Okay. So my mantra in life is good thing, bad thing, who knows? So when something good happens to me, you think, oh, this is going to last. You don't know if actually it's a good thing to you. And when a bad thing happens to you, you think, oh, this is bad. It's again reference to context. Okay. So when I was born, I'm a 7-month baby. I'm a premature baby. So my immunity was very low. And because my immunity was low, when the time came for me to go to school, I was supposed to go to this convent school called St. Xavier's in Kanjurmarg. My admission was done, but I got double pneumonia. And I was hospitalized for a few months. I was miserable because I wanted to go to St. Xavier's. It had a building, and I couldn't get admission. So that year, because I was hospitalized, I lost out. And I got to a small school called Sardarni Pratap Singh Janta Vidyalaya. And for many years, I was miserable, thinking, my notebook would have said St. Xavier's, now it says Janta Vidyalaya. I mean, how uncool is that? Koi ladki dekhti nahi thi yaar apni taraf. Okay. And I thought that's bad. But if I look back, Janta Vidyalaya has shaped Rahul Narvekar to a very large extent. Because it was a small school, I was shining there. I was somebody there. In Xavier's, I would have probably been lost. Okay. When I look at, I wanted to go to a large business school. I wanted to do an MBA from London Business School. I got an admission. I got a scholarship. I could not afford the flight fare or the cost of staying there. And I was miserable for some time. And now when I look back, probably the best thing that could have happened to me. You mentioned about Indian Roots, right? So when we started Indian Roots, I had already come off a passion and you. So I had a CV. I had to live up to a certain expectation. And the challenge you will realize is a lot of times every solution creates its own problem. Okay. So because I had done fashion and you, the expectation from me was huge. I was supposed to start Indian Roots with 18 crores of cash minimum. Usse niche nahi ho sakta. I had a commitment from somebody. I hired a 22-member team, and the last minute that investment fell through. And all I could raise was 84 lakhs. And the number is odd because it was literally एक रुपया जमा कर रहे थे, ठीक है? And I was already running a startup. I could not tell my team, or rather, I did not tell my team for 3 months that I don't have 18 crores in the bank. Okay. But if you look back, that is the best thing that could have happened to me, because if I had raised that 18 crores and taken it to $85 million, it's a good story. Okay? 18 crores. But what is an awesome story? 84 lakhs ka $85 million ho gaya. And to a large extent, it became that because under pressure, we perform at our best. We need that external stimulus. So if you get sad, if you fail, I can give you countless examples of people who have, sort of not achieved. A lot of times our challenge, our mental thing is because we have a certain expectation from how life should treat us. When that doesn't get made, we think we have failed. So one thing you have to burn in your head is failure is an event, it is not a person. Joe is not a failure, Sita is not a failure, Shriram is not a failure. Joe will fail at something. And the more things she fails at, the better she will get. Because experience comes from bad experiences. If everything is good to you, you will never learn anything, right? So at a young age, worst case में क्या हो जाएगा यार? माँ बाप will not throw you out of the West. खाने पीने के वांदे नहीं होंगे. If you don't get an internship, what will happen? Most of the time, our problem is not what has happened to us. It is people's reaction. So if I don't get placed in the right place, my relatives will laugh. The girl I'm looking at might not give me bhav. What will I put on social media? my friends are working at McKinsey or any cool company. And what do I put? Nothing. So we are only worried about other people's reaction. And my 47-year-old journey in life, 99.99% of the people don't matter, whose opinion we value so much, and we'll give it. So I would say the day you stop giving an F about what anybody else thinks about you, you become besharam or you become shameless, is the day you will start doing new things and you will not worry about whether you are seen as a failing at it or not failing at it. And from Albert Einstein to Elon Musk, you look at Elon Musk's own journey, man. So many times he's almost come on the verge and things have not worked for him. And we have so many articles coming out and all of that. Does he care about it? No. He keeps doing and doing and doing. And the more you do, the more the probability of you succeeding. So don't put everything, and unfortunately, as a society, na अपन को label लगाना बहुत easy हो जाता है. Oh, this guy is a success, this guy is a failure. You look at Sushant Singh Rajput, the most famous case, from where most people are, struggling people. He was a success. But in his own head, he was measuring it probably with some other thing. Okay. And he felt that he's a failure. So all of this is contextual. And I'm again repeating, failure is an event. It is not a person. I can give you a list and we'll fill, I don't know how many pages of the things I have failed at. I am not a failure. I'll never be a failure ever. But I failed at several things. In fact, I was rejected for the job of a waiter in 1994 by Leela Hotel. And of course, they saw something, that's why they rejected me. And I was very confident because I was studying and I said, I'll work in the night shift. And wo bhi night shift mein reject kar diya yaar. So, and again, I've once in one exam, I've got 2 marks in maths. Okay. Now I'm supposed to be this numbers whiz who can do business plans, whatever. So don't see things. ज़्यादा भाव जिस चीज को दोगे ना, वही चीज तुम्हारे को dominate करेगी. So don't give all this other people's opinion so much bhav. Is what I'll say.
Thank you, Rahul. I love that. Failure is an event. It is not a person. And I think I'm a firm believer that under pressure, I perform really well under pressure. I can say even our founder, Shriram, he's always, you'll see whether even during COVID, religiously one person in the cubicle, in his own cubicle will be Shriram. I think, and we've had multiple conversations about this, how diamonds are made under pressure. And as cliched as that sounds,
Shriram is what I call Abel Mujhe Maar. He's already got you as a colleague. Pressure ko to invitation card diya, usne kaha, Aja, this is the pressure on my head. See, Joe is getting it.
Well said there, Rahul.
But I'll also add something.
I think this one's going to stick, Sita.
We are the sum total of the 5, 7, 10 people we spend maximum time with. We become like them. We absorb that energy. So be very ruthless at a very young age at people around you. If there are people who are probably your friends, who sit on the next bench, who whatever, if they put you down, if they always say, tumse nahi ho payega, if they always doubt your intent, and there has to be a difference between people who genuinely give you advice, but most of the people who put you down, unfriend, block. Be very ruthless in cutting out people from your life who don't support you or who are not on a path forward. One of the reasons I was doing a webinar yesterday, and suddenly I realized that as a kid, when I was in that little room in my slum, and that was my home for 22 years, I had a cupboard right in front of the place I used to sleep. And I had 2 pictures there. One was Dhirubhai Ambani with his white shirt smiling. And below that, there was this quote from a magazine called A&M in red. Business is marketing. Before going to sleep, I would look at Dhirubhai Ambani smiling, sleep. When I wake up, I see Dhirubhai Ambani smiling. And he showed me the power of possibility. That if this guy who was from whatever background could create Reliance, and that time Reliance was not that big, but it was pretty big, I said, why can't I have a dream? Secondly, I had and my neighborhood was all mostly, so the one career option in my slum at that time, in the late 70s, was the best career option was to become a shooter in a gang. So you join a gang, become a shooter, and that's the only career option because there were no jobs in the economy at that time. And my next door neighbor, and we used to have these debates on the katta because there was no Netflix, there was no barista, so hum to bahar hi baiठte the. And he gave me this whole sort of not a PPT, but that whole logical thinking, saying this is not the option, this is not. So the only option is I join this gang. I know मेरी photo दीवार पे लग जाएगी 2 साल में because police will shoot me. But in 2 years, I'll make enough money that my family is settled. And what is that amount? In 2 years, Rahul, I might make 1 lakh rupees. So that was the dream. Okay. And I saw, so my first visual memory as a kid was, there was in Bombay, we call them Bhai, Don, local Don, Bandia Bhai, who was in the next lane. He was stabbed to death by 30, 40 people in broad daylight on the main road in front of all of us. Okay, so people came, they stabbed, killed him, and they walked away. And this guy, my neighbor, was just escaped by the skin of his whatever. And that was my reality. But luckily for me, because I had this Raddiwala, scrap dealer across the road, who had all old edition books. So I started reading, and I got so much into that life that I sort of zoned out and disconnected all the negativity around me. Okay. So even in my first formal job in 1998 was I was the ward boy in a hospital in a place called Mulund in Bombay. So my job was to walk in the evening, late evening, clean the toilets, clean the floors, swab the floors, take care of everything. And that was my job. But my virtual world, even then, when I was doing all of that, in my head, I always knew that, oh, New York, Gucci, Prada, private jet, blonde babe. Blonde babe didn't I Pallavi Rawai, that's the only difference. But most of the material goals that I had in life today, honestly, I have achieved. I've ticked it, you know. I wanted to go to Harvard, wo ho gaya, sab kuch ho gaya. I also realized that there is a term called hedonistic adaptation. So when I took my son Rian for the first time to see where his father comes from a couple of years back, you know, because we were staying in the Taj Landscape Suite, I said, "Chal, you're used to this life. Let me show you. Tera papa kidhar se aata hai." I took him to my chawl, and the moment Rian and Pallavi we entered my home for 22 years, Rian looked around, and his first reaction was, "Papa, aap log sab isme fit kaise aa gaye?" Because he couldn't imagine 4 people staying in that little tiny space. And I honestly sensed that when I was living there, this was a good enough space for me. So whatever material thing you go, the day you get your first car, when I got my first big car, I was like, oh wow. After 2 days, it becomes normal. Okay, you adapt. That's material. Okay. But if you focus on something, so when I went to class 11, Sita, so in Bombay till class 10, you have to wear a school uniform. So आपकी इज्जत बची रहती है. Class 11, you are what is called civilian. So you're supposed to wear whatever clothes you want. And that's when you do fashion, right? Because class 11 and all of that. My challenge at that point was, of course, financial locha tha, but I sweat. My hands and my feet sweat because of probably low immunity. And all I had was Hawaii chappal. I don't know if the kids will understand what a Hawaii chappal is, okay? So if I'm wearing Hawaii chappal, after a point, now, because of the sweat, I would start slipping on it. And then mud would accumulate. So I said, yaar, chappal pehen ke to college nahi ja sakte. You need shoes. I didn't have the money to buy a pair of shoes. My neighbor and my best friend at that time, Bobby, he had discarded a pair of shoes which were torn. Usne kachre mein phek diya tha. So I went and I picked up those pair of shoes and I asked him, I said, can I take it? He said, yaar, phata hua hai. And they were like torn from the top also. Like, so I went to the mochi, the cobbler, who used to sit under a tree and said, isko repair kar do. So he repaired them, but you could see from 1 kilometer that this is repaired shoe, you know, upar pura silai hai. And I was so conscious. I would always try and put my feet somewhere niche because I didn't want anybody to look at my shoe and say, you know, put a label saying Sala, you know, furniture. But that time I read an article and I think it was Society magazine. It was either GRD Tata or Ratan Tata had gone to somebody's funeral. And the shoes got stolen. And the article said these shoes are worth 20,000 rupees. So first I thought it is some typing error. My dad's salary at that time was 300 rupees. I said, how can anybody wear shoes on their feet for 20K? Asked somebody, said, हाँ. I cut that article, I put it in my book, and I would like say, one day, इस दिन note छापूंगा साला, एक नहीं दो जोड़ी. And that brand was called Bali, BLLY. And the day I made my money, you know, I went and bought 2 pairs and I started wearing them. So whenever I'm feeling a little low in life, and my wife still can't get my obsession with shoes, my son is now into that space, I will just put on that pair of Bali, look at it like this and say, ये कर सकते हैं ना. From that body का फेंका हुआ जूता, if I can reach till Bali, I will get through this. So for a lot of people, what you have to understand, you have to always focus on getting small wins because your mind is like a program.
Yeah.
Now, the fun scientific fact I'll tell you, your mind cannot distinguish between fact and fiction. So if you tell your mind a story, okay, for the mind it is fact. So when you say visualization, the secret, all of this is what? If you are focused on saying, yes, right now I have not achieved what I want to achieve, but someday I will achieve, and you start living that dream. So in your mind, so in my mind, I would always wake up to see Dhirubhai and say, I want to reach there. In my mind, I would say, I'm going to wear Bali shoes. In my mind, I was sure, okay, I'm going to fly a private jet or fly business class, go to New York. And I would actually do that whole role play in my head. I used to dream a lot with my eyes open. And of course, I had made sure that completely zoned out people who were telling me, boss, don't dream, naukri nahi milega. The only option is to join a group. Just zoned out all these people. And it takes a certain kind of a ruthlessness to be disliked, to be okay with being disliked. And I do it today also. Okay. So today I have a lot of people from my old life or my current life saying, oh, Rahul is bada aadmi ban gaya, so he doesn't take our. I don't, only because of the reason that when I connect with these people, I also go down. So instead of allowing people to pull you down to their level, look at people who are above you and just focus on them, and then you will go there. So you have a great weapon today, this that is called the mobile phone. And that has a very good super secret weapon. It's called filter. So apply filters on your life. Zone out all media which doesn't serve you, which is negative. Okay. Put filters, follow people who are positive. जिसने life में कुछ उखाड़ा है, उनको follow करो. And believe me, after some time, you will start absorbing that energies and you will also get onto that path. It is that simple.
Rahul,
I think well said, Rahul. I think that's absolutely brilliant. I keep telling people this all the time that, look, you can never be better than the average of the five people, your closest people, and you can absolutely never be, better than them actually. And yeah,
Sriram said to me as well when I joined InnoPark Ventures, actually, we were having a discussion and he said, Sita, I wanted to start this because of just what you said. So I saw him clapping because that is a mantra he keeps saying over and over. And he'll say, $1 minds, leave them behind.
Yes. So I got this coaching at Harvard, Sita, and my coach. So Harvard, I'm doing this program called OPM, Owner President Management Program. So we are 148 people from 33 countries. It's like the mini United Nations. And everybody is an achiever at awesome people, the peer-to-peer learning. But we also got this coach. So my coach is Steve Palmer. He was the talent head for the CIA for 19 years. And we did this large interactions. And finally, he gave me this one thing. He said, Rahul, the only finite thing is time. So you can spend 1 hour doing a $1 deal, or you can do $1 million or $1 billion deal. Your choice. And after that interaction, I sat and put on my notebook. I said, there are few kinds of people in your life. Some people are plus people, some people are minus people, but some people are into multiplication. So if you spend time with minus people, you will go niche. If you spend time with plus people, you will go upper. But if you spend time with the multipliers, you will change your orbit.
Absolutely.
Okay. So first you need to sit down, and this is a hack for most of the kids, that today after this session or whenever you have time, put your phone off or on silent. Don't get distracted. Sit with a pen and paper and sort of look back in your life and just jot down instances where you truly felt alive. That you zoned out the time, that you didn't realize that 4 ghante chalega, but just go back and figure out class 4, 5, whatever. And after you've jotted it down, look at them and see connect the dots. Then talk to a few people who genuinely you trust, who have your interest, and ask them to do the same for you. That if you have seen me for so long, when did you feel that I was truly alive? I was like truly into it. And jot that down, and then match making. And you see 4 or 5 common things. These are the things you are truly passionate about. Everybody talks passion, and most people say, I don't know what my passion is. So again, don't focus so much on the passion, but these are things you do even if you don't make money for it. The unfortunate challenge in today's system is our parents come from a constrained mindset generation. Like my father did, with limited opportunities. and they were always coming from a space of fear. So jo naukri mil jayegi pakad lo. So in my time, if you got a job and you did not enjoy the job, you still have to spend 1 year there, otherwise your CV is kharab. You know, somebody like Sriram will say, CV bahut broken hai, hire nahi karenge. Those days are gone. Okay. This is the era of abundance.
Yeah.
So what happens is when you are born, the first thing a parent, and I'm a parent, like, I should have to get him into a safe school. So if my son gets into St. Xavier's, his career prospects are good, not Janata Vidyalaya. Okay. Jabki the reality is different. Then after school, when times to college, parents will say you have to take science, because not because you enjoy science. Because in my time, and I told today also, the scholar kids take science, the not so scholar people take commerce, and the bottom of the pyramid like we take arts. Okay. But today's world, two technologies, machine learning and AI, have already made a lot of jobs redundant and will make a lot of jobs redundant. Today, you have to do what machines can't do, which is imagination, visualization, connecting the dots, the soft things. Okay. And today, of course, you are lucky that you can switch. You can take one physics and take some other subject also, like psychology or social entrepreneurship. So I'm saying once you have understood what passion is, you have to figure out what is a monetization model for the thing that you enjoy the most. So if you enjoy talking like me, you can become a beer biceps Ranveer kind of a platform and have like millions of rupees, right? The best part about today's world is you can be horrible at a skill and still make money. So singing, the best example is this phenomena called Dhinchak Puja. I don't know, South may you know of her now, but Dhinchak Puja sings horribly, and she sings so horribly that she's got millions of followers. So today's world is so great that you can suck at something and still make a lot of money.
Money.
Just need the ability to connect the dot.
Correct.
So the biggest ability in today's world to be successful or whatever is if you have one dot and you have another dot and you're able to make that connection, you can do massively well. Okay. And as Steve Jobs said, you can only connect dots going forward. Okay.
Yeah.
So where I was coming to is once you have done this whole exercise, then figure out who are the rock stars in that space. So suppose your passion is music or public speaking or programming. Also, you need to figure out, are you a people person or are you an introvert? Okay. Because some people say, I'm not a people person. I only want to, main aur mera computer aapas mein baat karte hain. No, maybe that is the profession you need to be in, right? Once you've done all of this, then just Google and figure out who are the biggest people in this space who you feel a connection with. And the best part with today's world is you can send them a friend request. If not, you can follow them. And then just apply filters and only stay focused in that space for these few years. Because a lot of you are maybe in first year, second year, third year. Now, I say you're trapped for, if it's a 4-year program, if you're in first year, you're trapped for 3 years. You don't need to get out. Okay? Use that time wisely. Use that time to build your profile. Use that time to figure out who do I connect with, who do I follow, what skills do. So either you can be a victim mindset person who says, I'm stuck in this dumb college and this college has no prospects. Okay? Or you can say, great, I am in this college, I have free time. Next 3 years, कोई pressure नहीं है, कोई बोलने वाला नहीं, नौकरी करो, माँ बाप पैसे भेज रहे हैं या whatever. ठीक है? Build your immunity, build your muscles. I have met several people. So I met this kid in Bangalore, Ashley Saldana. And Ashley said, you know, Rahul, what I do is I just help people get onto podcasts. So I'd like to work with you. I'll get you as a guest on a lot of great international podcasts. And I'll get, if you're doing your own show, I'll get people on. And I'll charge you $100 per. Said, wow. So he said, I started doing it in college. I'm about to graduate. This kid, who's I probably just graduated, he makes about 3 to 4 lakh rupees a month by just doing this. So what does he do? He says, I've changed my lifestyle. I sleep in the afternoon. I wake up at 10, and in American time, I just start going on social media, connecting with people which are biggest, and I just send them a very simple mail saying, this is what I want you to do. Out of 100, 1% response, but that 1% is enough for me to make money. No, he's not got a job, but he's just figured out a way, right? And he's also building his own profile. Today, if you speak to Ashley, he's got a network of hundreds of CEOs who know Ashley Saldana and will pick up his call. क्या effort है उसमें, boss? You just need to figure out something. So I'm saying, boss, दो चीजें देख लो. First and foremost is the world is the way you see it. Either you see it as a world of opportunity, or you see it as a world which is completely against you. And all of that is here. So the mind is the only thing that you need to do anything. You don't need funding. You don't need knowledge. Knowledge is overrated. You don't need anything. I'll give you two quick examples. 1954, I think, I'm not sure about the exact date, Harvard Medical did a small experiment. They took two rats, okay, and they put them into water. The rats were about to drown, so they started swimming very furiously. And about 15 odd minutes, they got tired and they're about to drown. And just when they're about to drown, they were taken out of the water, dried, and put back into the water. Now take a wild guess how much time they lasted the second time. Just a wild guess. Joe.
I don't know. I'm hoping a little longer.
How much? Just give me a number.
At least 20.
What, 20 minutes? First time they were fresh, they were able to last for 15 minutes. Taken out, dried, and put back in.
You should do double then. Let's put it. No, but then being realistic, I think what 20, 25 minutes. I don't know.
Hours.
Wow.
Why?
What?
Because in their subconscious mind, they had one word. It's called hope. So every time they were about to give up and drown, their subconscious mind kicked in and said, oh, just hang on. Maybe you'll get rescued. Now the same body which was not able to swim for 15 minutes in the first instance is able to last for 60 hours. Okay, that's the power of your mind. Let me give you one more example. Why do you need mentors in your life? Okay, or why do you need inspirational people in your life? In 1952, the considered wisdom in the athletic world was no human being can run 4 miles under 1 minute. In fact, a lot of scientists had published papers which said that if anybody is able to do that, their body will explode. And then one guy called Roger Bannister went and broke that record. He ran 4 miles under 1 minute. Now, the fun fact is the day that news came out, within 1 week, hundreds of people all over the world were able to run 4 miles under 1 minute. Why? Because before that, they read and they accepted and their mind said, oh, you can't run 4 miles under 1 minute. But they said, hey, he can run, I can also run. So when the moral of the story here is if you consume media, if you're around people who keep saying you can't, your mind believes you can't and then you can't. But when you zone out all these idiots and when you're focused on people who have done so-called impossible things and your mind says, oh, if he can or she can, I can. And then you can. So stay focused on only following such people. Everything that you think is a constant is in your mind. And everything you think is your superpower is also in your mind.
Absolutely, Rahul. In fact, most people limit themselves with their mental blocks. They don't, I mean, it's very difficult for them to understand that the world is abundant. And it is abundant for as many people as want the abundance, right? The whole idea that there's limitation, there's only this much, you can only do that much, you're only physically this capable, you're only mentally this capable. And today, the thing is that, internet has democratized everything. If you look at the age, I'm 41, so I also come from the old timers generation. At that time, if we wanted to acquire this knowledge, we had to go through so many books, like physical books, right? See, today, if you say who are the top 10 entrepreneurs, who are the top 10 guys who push limits, not only do you get it on one web page, not only is it summarized, somebody has actually made a bloody animated video also for you to consume in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And I look at all these people and I am like, guys, like really, I mean, you are where you are by choice. You choose to be an average guy. You choose to be an underachiever. You choose to be a loser, and you will continue to be a loser.
Absolutely, absolutely. But the great part about today's world is also that people like me and Sriram, because of what we said, earlier people used to take experienced people for jobs. Now we don't want to take experienced people because they come with baggage. We want to take kids like Sita and Joe who are fresh, who have not been told that you can't do this, so they end up doing this.
Firstly, I am so happy that you've called us kids. And then
say that.
I'm 48 in October.
No, Rahul, I think my next 4 to 5 questions. You've so beautifully answered because there was continuity to it, and then Sriram added whatever was left, and I was going to add it. It is literally like that. I think the question of mentorship, what is available to you at the moment, right? At your fingertips, literally at your fingertips, right? Button click away. So when people talk about how do I find mentorship, will anybody help me? No, you help yourself first, right? I think the key takeaways from what Rahul shared and what Sriram added is you have an abundance of information and access to people that previously were impossible to connect to. You can send them a LinkedIn request, a Facebook request, an Instagram request, tweet at them, whoever you think has the potential to be your mentor. And before that, like you said, Rahul, take 2 steps back and understand what you want, what you're passionate about. And I think often we use this word of passion so frivolously. It is, oh, I'm passionate about this and passionate about that. But like you said, you sit down and see what your strengths are. And I think strengths-based leadership, a personal experience of mine, because as a society, we're always focused on, oh, this one is weak in maths, so improve, 10 tuitions, improve. But what about your strengths? So playing by your strengths is extremely important. And, thanks for sharing those anecdotes and stories, because then people will be able to connect to.
I want to give them facts right here.
Yes.
Sita.
Yeah.
One is only and only focus on what is your strength and what you genuinely know that is your strength. Always do not look at your weakness. Do not look at improving your weakness. Just find somebody whose strength is your weakness and find an economic model for both of you to work together. That's one.
Yes.
Two, when you say networking, like Sriram said, Chita said, I have said, you have to reach out to people. Now, I absolutely hate people who send me a hello, hi, how are you request on LinkedIn or Facebook or Insta. Okay. And I'll tell you why. Most of us have bandwidth constraint. We are swamped with data. Okay. So before this whole pandemic, I used to, and somebody in my team is an engineer and a logical mind like Sita. So they did the math. I used to get an average of 470 messages a day before COVID. Now it has already crossed 800 plus. Okay. Now imagine I've woken up. I'm already dreading, oh, I have to do this call with Sita. Okay, I'm living in fear. And then I see this long list and it is from an unknown person, which says hello. Now I have to go and reply hello. And he says, sir, how are you? Come to the bloody point. I love people who send me very specific short messages saying, hey Rahul, this is Joe. We need you on this webinar at this time and this. I can action it, right? Okay. So please appreciate, most of us are bandwidth strapped. Okay. Secondly, I know it's a very cool thing nowadays too, and my son is 14, he also loves to do it. Please visualize the situation that Sriram gets a request from Psycho Pratik. How inclined would he be to accept that? And this is genuinely a bacha I'm mentoring, and I've been trying my level to tell him, please change that thing. He doesn't agree. He thinks it's very cool to have a username called Psycho Pratik, and he's in the digital space. Or Joe gets a internship application from deliciouslips@gmail.com. And I'm not making this up. This is the kind of stuff I get. Please appreciate what you think is cool in your college kids will have repercussions. Okay. Secondly, your timeline is your CV. So before you step out into the big bad world, virtually, physically, whatever, just sit down and do a sort of a diagnostic of your own timeline. And you probably want to take out some stuff you don't want your potential employers or partners or others to know. Because we all, at a young age, end up doing several things, and we post a lot of things thinking it's very cool. At that point in our college network, it might not be. And once you have taken that call, okay, I'm now wanting to do something professionally. Also figure out that if you can start having a sort of a strategy, if not a direction of what do I want people to see me as? Okay. How do people perceive you? Perception is reality. Okay. So if I tell you I'm from Harvard Business School, you immediately have a perception of me, right? If I say I'm from IIM, I might be the dumbest guy in that college. I might have got into the back door, or they might have taken whatever, right? But you ride on that thing. So similarly, at a young age, if you're connected to the right people, if you're posting the right kind of content, if everything is right, you will be perceived as that. And your probability of cutting from a clutter of so many other people trying to get attention is improves. And this is the age of the visual. This is the age of Instagram. So a picture is worth 1,000 words. Okay. So when you're doing a Zoom call, when you're even attending, it makes sense to spend a little bit of time in dressing appropriately, because most people form an impression in less than 2 seconds. And most of us are not even aware of it. Okay. So abhi to virtual hai, it doesn't cost you too much to make sure that you have the right background. Neutral is always best. Okay.
Yeah.
Understand, I can today get away by wearing this, but for most cases, a collared piece is seen as more professional than a non-collared piece. Okay. Invest some time and effort. I have so many Zooms I have done where people have just got up and you have to convey some seriousness. These are all basics. But the basics are the most important thing. One. Two, at a college level, if you're sitting in a college, if you're participating in doing sessions or whatever, and you are connecting to speakers. So if anybody, if Sriram gets a email from an IIT or an IIM, obviously will respond, right? So till the time, if you have the fortunate enough to be at a good brand name college, use that time very wisely to build your network. Because if Joe from IIT sends me a request, I will accept. And then immediately after the event, if Joe is connected with me beyond that IIT, I will stay connected to her. Okay. So this world, the great part is it's easy to get access to anybody, but it is tough because there are so many people trying to get access.
Correct.
So that's the dichotomy. So.
Absolutely. Those top three things, I think I keep telling people all the time, I keep telling myself, if I go to someone, what are the top three things that I'd like to ask them, especially if it's a cold acquaintance over LinkedIn or something. Say, be formal, don't be too forward, top three things, note them down, and they will respond to whatever they feel. Give them the liberty and the space to think about what they need to respond to, and they will respond. Instead of, and also this thing of mentorship. Mentors will fix our lives. We need to go to mentors, with our homework done as to what is it that we are seeing.
So here, I want to say something, Sita.
Yeah.
30 to 40% of the people who reach out to me, and it's so dumb. They have connected, they've got through the first filter, and then they ask me, sir, what do you do?
Oh.
And what do I do? I block them.
Yeah.
Because you bloody come through all this, now you're asking me, just bloody Google, man. Or if you don't know who I am, why are you connected to me?
Yeah.
One.
Yeah.
Two, the biggest thing is, unfortunately, the term networking or mentorship is very abused in India today.
Yes.
So with me, with all due respect to individuals, out of 100 people who reach out saying, I want you to mentor me, 99 of them are only looking for funding or a check. Or it's a ask where they say, I have this problem, please solve it for me. I can't. Or it's an impossible ask, please give me Vishal Gondal's number, give me Vijay Shekhar Sharma's number, give me Sachin Bansal's number, or ask them to buy my company. I can't, boss. But the biggest thing is, I've seen this, is several times we make it very transactional. So till the time we have hope that this person will do something for me, family, you are like an elder brother, you are so inspiring, you do all that. The day that hope goes away, you vanish. And it has happened to me several times that I have either connected with a startup for funding, not happened. I've connected with somebody who's applied for a job, not happened. And then that person has disappeared. A few months later, I'm sitting with, say, Sriram. And Sriram says to me, Rahul, you know what? I'm looking to put money into this sector. Can you recommend somebody? Or I'm looking to hire this person. Can you recommend? And I say, you know what, Sriram? I met this amazing startup or person. But for the life of me, I can't remember their name because they've disappeared. It is so dumb that once you have established a connection, there is not much effort you need to put in to stay connected. Okay. Yeah. And understand that people like me and Sriram who have seen several things, we can also make out that you only want something from us till that time. It's a transaction. Why would I respond to that here? First, learn to give. Yeah. And there are very few rare kids I have met from colleges who are connected me purely not for anything transactional. And most of them had a great experience with us because we recognize that, we reward that. And because it is so rare, people like me and Sriram will always remember them by first name, last name, family, birthday, everything, because it's so really rare. And
Absolutely.
it doesn't cost you anything. So I know all the movies, everything portrays that you have to be this ruthless, transactional person. No, it pays to be a nice guy.
Yeah.
It pays to be nice to people and not just top people. I can't stress the importance of being nice to people who are not on big chairs.
Yeah.
Okay. I was doing fashion in you for 7 months. I was trying to crack the biggest luxury brand. And I would go and sit in their office and they wouldn't even entertain me. I would sit for hours in their office. Okay. But because I was very nice to the security guard who would open the door and the receptionist, one fine day, she took me aside and gave me a tip. She said, I know you're trying to meet the CEO. He's not going to meet you. But off the record, I'm telling you, he's going to take this flight. It was Kingfisher that time. He's going to fly business class. His habit is he's always in the lounge 1 hour before. So I bought a business class ticket. I got and caught him in the lounge, and my work, which was not done from 7 months, got done because I was nice to people who most of us tend to ignore. And always remember, the people on the ground can do stuff for you that the people at the top might not be able to. So if you want anything getting done here, don't go to Shriram, go to Sita, because she will quietly get it, and Shriram will say, no, this doesn't make sense. Balance sheet mein nahi aata, chal.
No, thanks for sharing that, Rahul. I think it's very, very important. And we talk about this a lot in terms of fostering that team spirit, fostering the culture to be nice to everybody. When you say nice, you've also said be ruthless, but I remember, I mean, distinctly being ruthless to people who are pulling you down is different from being just a general nice person, and not to be extra transactional. Especially the ventures team, we're a tightly packed, small team. And then, there, when the pandemic hit, we're all, there was a time when one of the interns didn't have a laptop, and I remember Joe saying, you know what, I'll borrow my sister's laptop and I'll give my laptop to the intern so that I can make this work. And it wasn't if it's about intern or Shriram not having or Sita not having, it was just the thought, right? So it's that kind of thing. I think it trickles from the top management. I don't think you see Shriram sitting on his high chair or any of us doing any of that. Like it's a very flat organization. Everybody takes responsibility for their actions.
I'm sure Shriram will see most of the time his chair is with Joe is sitting or Sita is sitting, so he has to stand.
He won't go
to better when I stand, Rahul. So that would be an accurate statement. I can't focus when I'm sitting down.
In his cabin also, he's usually standing and walking around. So I don't think he will even notice if one of us sits in his chair. So no, the big lessons to be learned over there, and humility and sort of being nice. And when being nice sounds so small, but it is actually very important. Since we have Shriram and Rahul, both of you here, Rahul, the first time entrepreneurs, and I think Shriram, you can pitch in as well, are now like, okay, fine, we've listened to the Shrirams and Rahuls of the world, right? And now we wanted to be entrepreneurs. And suddenly this thing is just, pulled the rug away from our feet. What do we do? What do we genuinely do? Are there people who will support us? Are there investors who will support us? What are the sectors that are looking better? There are some obvious things that we won't do because, right now having a brick and mortar place doesn't work because there's not going to be traffic there. We also don't know how, the pandemic seems indefinite at the moment. So there is a layer of people, whether it's IITs or engineering colleges or reputed, and the IIMs, reputed management institutes of India and across the world, who are now stranded. So they are like, what do we do now? So what are some of the sectors that they can look at? How do they pivot? And what is important at the moment?
So first thing is, people who looked for support to start a venture generally don't end up being a success at it. Okay. Entrepreneurship is what? Yeah? There is a problem that you see, which has been there for donkey's years probably. You see it in a different way, or you see a solution in a different way. Okay. First and foremost, most businesses are basic business. Look at a Flipkart, you look at an Amazon, you look at anybody. There is no secret sauce to the idea. Everybody knows what they're doing. It's the way they execute it consistently on a daily basis, which is the difference. That's one. Two, you cannot change. Entrepreneurship is about reacting to things which, so everybody has a plan till you get punched in the face. Okay. And that's Muhammad Ali's quote, who's in boxing. So you are probability of getting punched is high. I've never seen a business plan which has exactly panned out the way when you launch it. Okay. Business plan is an assumption. Okay. And as I love to say, in an Excel sheet, you can make a profit at any point or as much as you want. It's tweaking the formula. The effort that you need and the mindset you need to get that number from the Excel sheet into the bank account, that journey is entrepreneurship. Okay? And that journey will never, because you will make an assumption, if I launch, Joe is my competitor, she's going to behave in this way. But Joe decides, I'm not in the mood, I won't behave this way. Then what do? You adapt. I'll give you one simple example. When this whole pandemic hit, there were a couple of chains who were selling pizza by the slice in New York and Chicago. Okay. These are small places because real estate is very expensive. So it's a takeaway thing. Okay. And they're just a kitchen and a little bit of outlet. And they realize nobody's coming and they're not even delivering. So what do? Okay. And you are used to huge volumes every day. Suddenly the owner realized that the oven that he has to make the pizza is very suitable to make a certain kind of medical equipment, face mask and all of that. So they pivoted and they've started making those masks and selling them and doing very well. And then the CEO was quoted in New York Times saying, now I have three options after this whole situation is over. I can go back to selling pizzas. I can stop selling pizzas and start selling medical equipment, or I can do both. Now imagine that a guy who sold pizzas for 40 years. Most people would have said, okay, story over, just wait it out or sell this place. But he looked at it, he looked around and he said, oh, what can I do? Most of entrepreneurship is doing exactly that. Okay. When we did Fashion and You, the joke was everybody laughed at me saying 2009, who's going to buy clothes on the internet? Nobody's going to buy clothes on the internet. We broke that with a model. Then we realized people were very reluctant to give credit card information. Most people did not have that many cards. So cash on delivery got invented in India. Okay. So as I said, for most, like you look at when Ola came in, they had an Uber model. But they realized in India, there is another challenge. They said, okay, OTP. So most entrepreneurs on a daily basis, that is what you do. There is nothing else. Okay. You have to adapt. But the bigger thing is, for most people, when you say sectors, I keep getting kids who say, sir, which sector are you funding? I will do that. It doesn't work that way. We don't invest in sectors. We invest in people. So I'll invest in a Joe, I'll invest in a Sita. Okay. And as an investor, I might come from a certain background. So I would say, oh, this sector is right now hot. So, okay, healthcare is hot. Mental health is very hot. We invested in a mental health startup. But when I invested in a mental health startup, I'm not investing in the startup. I'm investing in Sneh Kulkarni. I'm investing in Dr. Sachin Bhavsar. These are awesome people. Yeah. Now, I'll tell you one thing. Yesterday, we made an investment from my fund. Sneh Kulkarni and Dr. Sachin Bhavsar. They're in the mental health space. You know what is a fun fact? I've never met them. I did not know them 3 days back. A friend of mine, Rajiv Davadkar, connected me. I did my due diligence. I Google search. I had got on a few calls with them. And I was so blown away. So Dr. Sachin Bhavsar has had 19 surgeries, life-threatening. He's been amputated. But he's a practicing gynecologist. He's so positive. He never gave me any victim thing saying, oh, you know, imagine just one surgery, how many we will like. If I fall little ill, I have the whole house at my beck and call, you know, boss, you know. He's so inspirational. We invest in people. They happen to be in the mental health space, which is a great space to be in. So if you want to do your journey looking at what sectors, it is the other way around. You focus on what is it that you are wanting to do, even if you don't get paid for it. Every single day. One. Two, you find an economic model for it. Okay. And then, of course, you can add a jargon of saying, you know, so today the fun part is I got a deck for somebody who says, I want to sell a Pani Puri, but it is powered by AI. So I'm going to use artificial intelligence to predict which flavor of Pani Puri you should. What nonsense is this? Okay. We tend to jargonize a lot of things. Ultimately, business is what? You give something to people, it's a service or a product, for an economic value that they think it's worth paying you for. Okay. Now you can add any kind of label to it. What is e-commerce? Ultimately, it's an efficient way of retail, right? So as an entrepreneur, I look at a problem and I look at a different way of solving that problem. But most entrepreneurs who end up doing massively well don't start with saying, oh, I'm going to create a unicorn. Most people who start that way don't fare very well. Most entrepreneurs, so when Sriram started, I'm sure he didn't think, oh, I'm going to employ, I'm going to be. They don't do it for the glory reasons. They do it saying, I have this kida in my head. I need to fucking solve this problem. And then, of course, once you get into it, you will get people, you'll get mentors. If you're doing something really well, mentors will come and find you. If you're doing something really well, some people will support you. But if you say, once I get support, only then I will start, I doubt you'll get much support.
Sriram, want to add to that?
Absolutely. I think well said there, especially on the mentors front, right? You can't go to a mentor and say, I'm drowning, throw me a rope, right? I mean, at the end of the day, you have to achieve something in your own life for even mentors to take attention for you. It can be anything simple. I mean, it could be something on the sports, it could be something little bit you achieve, but people want to understand at the end of the day, you have some fire, right? I'm not looking to mentor, or I'm not looking to make a friend with a guy who's, the CEO of a very big company or $100 million, net worth guy. I am looking to connect to that guy who's got that fire in his belly. Because I know at the end of the day कि ये life में कुछ तो करेगा, and I want to be associated with that guy, so that there's something that you learn out of it. There's some some pride that you have earned, that okay, fine, this guy who's made it there in life, I mentored him at this point in time, so you have to have that X factor in you, and that's why people, and that's how people will actually take notice, and absolutely connect with you. Going back to this whole,
you said right now, na,
sorry,
kuch karega. See, most
correct,
mentors are wanting to mentor people जिसमें वो दिखे, and
correct,
we get pity is not a strategy, man.
absolutely,
20 message 19 people will send take like what he said. I'm drowning, throw me a rope.
yeah,
Mentorship is not taking pity on your. You send us an emotional message, and we want to, as it is time constraint. Yeah, I'm sure Sriram has better things to do than spend 1 hour. Okay. But if he wants to spend that 1 hour, Sriram wants to spend that 1 hour on somebody who will value it and do something out of it and create something awesome. Most of these kids forget that. If I look at a mentorship appeal, mostly it is take pity on me. And the best term I learned in Harvard from our faculty, Linda Applegate, hope is not a strategy.
yeah, absolutely.
So a lot of people will just, and I'm appalled. A lot of people send us, stuff on LinkedIn, and it's, hey Sharath, I'm not Sharath. Then I realized it's made one cut and paste thing and sent it mass. It's called spray and pray model.
Yeah.
You spray it out to the big bad world, and you pray that somebody will respond. So this is the dumb way to seek mentorship, man.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Sriram, I cut you off. You're saying something.
No. See, I think the thing which will really put off anybody is basically when you start seeing, a sense of hopelessness. Nobody likes a loser, right? At the end of the day, if you believe in this whole concept of energy, right? I mean, the principle of attraction, nobody wants your bad energy, right? You don't want to be infected by your negative aura, right? You've got energy, I want to connect with you together, like that energy will multiply to 10-fold, right? So you have to be very, very careful in the way, even if you're in crisis, even if you need help, I mean, the way you need to approach life, or your approach towards it. I mean, that brings on to the second question, Sita, that you asked, saying that, look, there is a pandemic, look, there is this, look, there is that happened, what do I do right now? Look back at history. I think, a great example Rahul gave about this pizza guy. But even if you look at history, right, most of the Fortune 500 companies were built during Great Depression, Great financial crisis. There is so much of opportunity that is available. On a good day, everybody is your competition. On a bad day, you who can think differently, who you can pivot, if you've got the willpower, if you've got the grit, right, you have a massive advantage over the other guy. And this is basically at the guys who really, really pull it off right now. I'm telling you, this will be classic example of Darwin's theory of evolution. The strong will become stronger, and every loser who said that oh, this crisis, he will be buried deep. And guess what? I'm a little bit extremist when it comes to this. I think they deserve to be buried 20 feet out of the ground. At least
I did
Mother
not dare
Nature
say it, but you said
is
it here.
saving oxygen. And you're to my opinion, I'll go to the extent of saying you're just consuming protein into urea. As simple as that. You're not doing anything better in your life today. You're better 10 feet under the
I'm
ground.
going to steal that line.
Protein into urea.
Protein into urea.
But I mean, yeah, what more could you ask for? Like people listening, and this is going to be up on social media platforms for them, a wealth of knowledge. Don't be just people who are turning protein into urea. Don't be buried 10 feet under the ground. But I'm glad you focused on the don't do this, because it is like giving people a cheat code and saying, boss, don't do this. You'll be fine. When you are approaching a mentor or when you are saying you want help, be specific, know your audience, know your mentors, do a bit of background check, know what you want first. Be prepared, and you don't always need to say, oh, I need support to get up back on my 2 feet. Sometimes you need to dust your knees. Well, most of the times you just need to dust your knees and get back up on your own 2 feet, and then you will find help and support on the way. I wanted to ask if the audience has any questions, because I know in the interest of time, and both of you run on tight schedules. In the interest of time, Rahul, do you have time to take one question from the audience, and taking advantage of the fact that all of us are online?
As I said, you are the chief bully officer. I can't say I don't have time. See, Joe's I can relate to this.
I have done the do's well then. Thank you. So, Joe, if there's Q&As, I don't know if I can.
Just going to check quickly. Do we have any questions? Please please type it in the Q&A section. All right.
Because what you've done is basically, I think Rahul very nicely has answered everything through all the stuff that I'd written down, all my notes that ran into so many pages. You just answered.
You're the logical Indian.
Logical Indian.
I'm the emotional Indian.
We always need the emotional Indians. Logical Indians, too much binary also doesn't work. Ones and zeros.
Please give this Gyan to another Andhraite Pallavi Rao, because he thinks I should be more logical.
So great. So
Piyush is saying no questions, ma'am, which means either they have understood nothing or they've understood everything.
That's fine. I mean, anybody has a question, even offline, you can reach out to Sita and Joanna.
Yes.
And curate them, and then one of us are more than happy. Both of us are happy to answer that and help you in whatever possible way.
Yeah, I think we did have a few questions. Sita, do we have anything else that we've written down?
So I think we have, what I'm going to do is send them to Vikram and Rahul, the ones that we've collected of them. But overall, what we did was the pattern of the questions that we've wanted to address. There could be 10 different questions that we collated yesterday from students and entrepreneurs, but the pattern was one: the fear, anxiety we've addressed. How to reach out to mentors we've addressed. Support in this system in the current pandemic times we've addressed. What sectors? The biggest thing when I spoke to entrepreneurs, I think I spoke to 14 of them. Everybody said, now what sectors are going to go up? And Rahul said something brilliant. We don't invest in sectors, we invest in people. Because that is when Sriram and I are talking about any deal flow, we'll always talk about the team first. And then, what they do, you can sort of reverse engineer everything to the team. The team will pivot and they can do anything, like from pizza to medical masks or, to anything. That's a perfect example. So I think we've sort of encapsulated what we wanted to achieve through the webinar. Thank you so much for your time, Rahul. And Sriram, it was so nice to...
Sita, I think Hika, I just mentioned she's got one question. Yeah, you can type it in here, Minika.
Okay. Rishi also has asked a question. Sorry. Sir, I'm starting my startup in an online B2B and B2C, but now JioMart has come into the industry So I feel like I will be crushed by them. What do I do? I'm glad Sriram and Rahul both are online to answer.
So JioMart is the 800-pound gorilla. Okay. So you have to figure out what is that the gorilla can't do or the elephant can't do. Okay. So you can't do the white thing. You can find a niche. And I'll give you an example of my last startup. So when we started Indian Roots, we were selling ethnic wear and designer wear. And obviously Amazon was selling it, Flipkart was selling it. But the challenge for all these big guys was they were very wide. Okay. So we took a niche of, and the average selling price on Flipkart and Amazon 2013 ki baat hai, was about 800 rupees. They were more focused on smaller and gadgets and all of that. And we went the opposite end. So my average selling basket value was 39,000 rupees. We went premium. Okay. And what we found as a niche is for most designers, their challenge was, so if Rohit Bal goes and puts a 3.5 lakh rupee lehenga on Amazon, because it's a tech first company, the recommendation engine of Amazon would throw all the fakes from Surat below it. So you have a 3.5 lakh rupee Rohit Bal original and you have a 13,000 rupees fake from Surat right below it with the same image. So that was damaging the credibility of the mother brand. So they said, we can't be on this marketplace. Okay. To give you another example, if I have Big Bazaar, Armani will never sell in Big Bazaar. Armani needs its own niche. So if you can find a small niche which is specialized, and not everybody needs to be a unicorn. Okay. So you look at a lot of this. So you look at a Mamaearth, or you look at a Baby Oil, you look at all these small niche players. They have taken a niche which they can defend. Because for a large player, they only want a minimum certain size of business for it to be of interest to them. Okay. So if you find a small niche and you can defend it very well, you can still do e-commerce. Doesn't mean that, this is dead. Also, when I started Fashion and You, a lot of times it's not an issue of big player resources. When we started Fashion and You, we were 7 people. Okay, we had started fashion e-commerce. And 2 months later, I still remember I was at Ghatkopar station trying to show my son Rian how local trains work. And I get an email from my partner, Harish Well, which says India Today Group has entered this space, our same space. And my first reaction was, India Today Group, massive money, customer base, everything. India Today Group launched something called bagittoday.com. And guess what? 1 year later, Anil Ambani enters this space with something called Big Adda. They launched Big Adda with a blog by Bachchan Saab where they paid him 1 crore just to launch the website. In that space, Fashion and You became the leader. Bagit Today did not survive. Big Adda did not survive. So I'm not saying that JioMart will not survive, whatever. I'm saying a lot of times we just assume that just because it's a 800-pound gorilla, they will completely destroy you. Wise thing would be to find your niche. But especially in today's world, it is not a matter of only the big guy with a lot of money completely dominant. They might have a completely different strategy also. Okay. So do not get dishunted now. You have to be aware of your competition. But in the first 18 months of any venture, you have to put blinkers on and not look at your competition, look at your customer. If you're focused only on your customer and you're able to achieve a certain base, for you, an exit might be JioMart coming and buying you out, man. Look at the number of startups Jio platforms has bought. I think more than 100, right? Amma is doing a fabulous job. So if you make a very good company, they might end up either buying you or their competitor might end up coming and buying you.
Fantastic.
I think well said, Rahul. I think you covered that quite well. And just to sum that up, see, in a jungle you have all sorts of animals, right? I mean, there's a gorilla, there's an elephant, there's also the bird. I mean, they all coexist. Just because there's 400-pound gorillas, that the rest of the jungle is going to get washed away, right? There is a place for every animal, and there is a place for every business, right? You have all these big box stores that came up. Your local Kirana guy is still doing well. In fact, I think your local Kirana guy is now thriving by partnering with those big box stores and doing last mile delivery. Actually, they're actually becoming more of smart delivery agents with the last mile advantage.
Absolutely.
Kind of stuff like that. But don't start from a whole position of negative, saying that, oh, you know what, there's somebody out there who's going to kill me. Nobody's out there to kill anybody. Right? I mean, that's the whole principle of abundance that we talked about, right? The whole world is absolutely and phenomenally abundant. Trust me. And you guys will see this in your lifetime, with the way the farming is happening. I'll just talk about food. I mean, hydroponics and everything. Trust me, you will have plenty of energy. You'll have plenty of food. You'll have plenty of 3D printing. You will see an era of abundance,
That's
right?
nice and positive to hear, Sriram. Thank you for saying that, because it's rarely we hear the word abundance. And then to see such a positive, I mean, for you to put such a positive spin on what it's going to be. And I know you speak, but not just, out of just pure emotion, but it's about things you're seeing and learning and things that we're seeing happening around the world, right? They will be the troughs and crests through our lives as we travel. And I think thank you for Rahul for those examples. So relevant, and I think we must take that. So one last question. I know we spoke extensively on mental health, but one last question. And Rahul, for you, and Sriram, for you, because you have portfolio companies, you have people who are also dependent on you. Okay. So Mihika says, not all days have been sunny days. What keeps you going during the not so sunny months? And I know for a fact that Sriram, you've dealt with something for a month. You didn't even tell us in the management team what was happening behind the scenes, because you were taking care of something and then you sort of took care of it and then sort of, but I don't think I ever even an inch, or I communicate with you almost every day over phone call, but I never thought anything was there at all. So what happens? What is it that one simple thing that you guys do that when things are not going right?
So the first thing I do honestly is that I acknowledge that yes, I am having this feeling, and I also do keep having this feeling. Okay, it's as recent as in the last 1 month when I was in Bombay, then I went to Goa, and then from there I came home. I keep talking to a lot of people, right? And sometimes, as Sriram said, you get pulled down into that. You hear kisi ki dukh bhari kahani, and you also go into that sort of a zone.
Yeah.
Okay. So it happens to be frequently, but what I have done over a period of time is I have got certain rituals. Okay. So when I know and earlier I would never acknowledge this feeling, I would always try and put a positive face. Ki nahi, kuch nahi ho raha. Now first thing I do is I acknowledge to myself, yes, I'm having these dark thoughts. I'm down. This is not a, and then I'm into reading a lot, and I love watching movies and Netflix. My first thing is there are a few books I love which will always pick me up mentally. So I go and I pick up a book, and that day then I cancel everything else. And I'm very ruthless. My phone is off or it's on silent. I don't interact with most people. I pick up that book, I start reading. And then there are these few people in my life who I can call at any point. And the moment I call them, I become positive. Because they have this whole ability to make me laugh and, put a perspective and sort of give me a gali and say, Thakele, ye kya kar raha hai? All that thing. You need to have certain people in your life. If you don't, it's always never too late to start. You have to cultivate. And then that day I'll either watch a funny old, so my favorite actor is Utpal Dutt, so I watch a Amol Palekar, Rishikesh Mukherjee old film like a Golmaal or Choti Si Baat or whatever. And that day, and nutrition is very, very important in life. So that is the day I'm very careful on what I consume. Alcohol is the absolute wrong thing to do when you're down. It will only amplify what you're feeling. Okay. So that is the day I sort of put myself in a positive atmosphere. I read, I watch movies, I talk to people, and most of the times I start journaling. So if you start putting down what is it that, and mostly it's fear, right? It's fear of something happening to somebody or whatever. I start and analyze what is the fear. And then I say, okay, what is the worst if this fear comes true? What is it if this doesn't come true? And once you sort of put it out into the world, as Sriram says, I believe a lot in energies. So I share it with a few people in my life and I say, yaar, ye feel ho raha hai. Unfortunately, a lot of times we are scared to share anything related to mental because we fear getting labeled or whatever. But if you have a few genuine people in your life, you share and then they put things in perspective. Again, there is never an instant solution to this. Aisa nahi hai ki you feel low and you suddenly feel. I know that this whole day, probably a day or two for 48 hours, will be feeling a little low. And when I'm okay with it, I get through it. It's like running a marathon. So you've covered halfway, yaar, it's going to be painful, blisters hai, but you know that you have done it in the past. Girte, padte, whatever you will complete. In fact, one tip I'll give you guys is start doing performance things. So I was not into sports at all, but a dear friend of mine, Vishal Gondal, on an impulse made me do a 100-kilometer trail walk. So you have to do 48 hours, 100 kilometers in the mountains. I said, "Are you nuts?" He said, "Try kar." I said, "Okay." And I did the dumb thing. I Googled and I picked up shoes for trekking, which were meant for snow. And I took those shoes to Maharashtra, outskirts of Mumbai, in absolute terrible heat. So I had blisters on my feet. And when I went to the first checkpoint, the coach there very calmly, Praveen Chirmure, Amina Admi, he took a safety pin, he got a lighter, burnt it, and he burst all my blisters. And after that pain, every other pain was okay. But because we were a great bunch of people, and I thought I will not be able to complete it. But because of patience of people, and I thought it, and I'll tell you my learning. The day I completed my first 100-kilometer trail walk, my timing was 44 hours. I was like, I'm Superman. Then I turned around and saw Milind Soman's mother had done it 2 hours before me. And I came crashing down to earth. Okay. So I'm saying, and I do this. Now I've done about 500-600-kilometer trail walks, once on the outskirts of Bangalore. I've run half marathons. Once you have done all this, your mind sort of has programmed that I am used to doing things. And every time I run, first half an hour, I say, "Oh, I think this one I will not be able to complete." But somehow I end up completing it. So then my mind says, whenever I think I can't, I know I can. So maybe that was. So if you start building up, it's like this programming, right? You keep doing things which you think you're not able to do. But once you do it, slowly there is this whole repository of in your mind which is higher pehle bhi kiya hai. That helps.
Great. There's eat well, look after yourself, invest in
Chocolate always helps.
Activity.
Yeah.
That's my secret mantra. Did you say chocolate always helps, Rahul?
Yes, chocolate always helps.
I've ignored physical activity and I've
chocolate.
ignored all the other things. I've stuck to that thoroughly for all 30 years of my life, I think. So, Sriram, you wanted to add something to that? I know you're a big believer in investing in a physical sport or activity to get your clarity of mind and,
Yeah. So see, in order for you to really, be at your best, right? You need to be strong mentally, physically, and emotionally. And these three aspects are actually, they go together, not independent of each other, right? So it's very important to find a sport that you like, or keep some way in which you keep your physical fitness levels very high. And if you actually start to read about this and do some research, you'll actually find, biologically they explain how these three are very, very strongly connected, and they also play a very, very important role in the level of confidence that you have in life. And coming to your question on sunny days, bad days, look, who told you life is a bed of roses? Like even if you look at your year-long climate, right? I mean, there's rainy season, there's a summer that bakes you, there's a winter that freezes you. I mean, that's how life is. That's how nature is built, right? You're not, if you want to live in an ideal situation where every day is beautiful, then I think you're just dreaming, right? I mean, you're probably pretty good at lucid dreaming then. But the whole point is, look, they say that there's a very famous statement. They say that the valley teaches you lessons that the mountaintop can't. And that's very true. You speak to any successful entrepreneur, you speak to any business house, most of them have seen bankruptcy once or twice in their life. They have been so down in life. Two things happen at that time. One is you learn a lot. And the second thing is, a guy who's touched the bottom, he'll be fearless in life. What more can you do to him? Right? There's this one entrepreneur that truly inspires me. I mean, he's a slightly infamous lottery baron. I had the privilege of rubbing shoulders with him, and during one project we did together. But his life started where he was actually selling lottery tickets. Those little boys who hold a tray of lottery tickets and stand in front of the parks and the roads and all that. In summer, this guy was actually in Chennai, standing in front of Daisy Plaza without chappal, his legs baking, and he was selling tickets at 10 rupees for a 1 rupee margin. Today, that guy owns Dairy Plaza. 10 buildings on this side of the street and 20 buildings on that side of the street. And now when this guy actually got himself into trouble, and people asked him this question saying, hey, there's trouble, what are you going to do? And this guy is like, look, I walked on the street as a child without footwear. I slept in a mud hut, right, where my mother was so poor that if it was raining, she would huddle up in a corner and she would put me under the pushcart vegetable, this one, so I would stay dry. He said, मेरे को life में क्या उखाड़ेगा? So it's very important to face failures and to see these kind of crises in your life is very important. You will build tremendous resilience.
So I'll tell you this, what Sriram was saying. Na? So I always had this thing when I was poor, so-called financially poor, that, once I am in a suite and that's the best sleep. And once when I started doing these trail walks, I did a 100-kilometer trail walk in Bombay with Vishal and all. There's a dear friend of ours called Bela Gupta, and she had to drop out at the last minute. So she enrolled for the Bangalore trail walk, which was after some time. So I did the 100-kilometer trail walk and we were exhausted after that. 4 days later, I ran the Mumbai half marathon. And because of the humidity and all, I had blisters on my inner thighs and all that. And 3 days later, I'm in Bangalore with a girl gang, Lubina Shapurwala and Bela and everybody. Did the 100-kilometer trail walk in Bangalore. And I have sleep apnea. So if I have to reach a checkpoint and sleep, I need a plug point for my machine to sleep, right? So Bangalore was very hot. It was all geeks like you who were not interacting with people. Bangalore is a place where people are like, guys, we have to complete 100 kilometers and this, and they were like only talking. I was like, talk to each other, yaar, 100 kilometers hai. So, not much fun. And we reached the checkpoint after walking for 26 hours. Okay. I'm dead tired because that was by the time I reached there, I slept for 1 hour. And that is the best sleep I've ever had. I've slept on the best beds in the world. That is the best. And there are times when I'm sleeping. I was in Times Square. I had a bad cold. I was in a lovely hotel right on Times Square. My dream come true. I was unable to sleep. So it's all very contextual. But once you have done hard stuff in life, as Sriram was saying, then you don't get fear or like today you should take away everything from me. You throw me back in that room. I know the way up.
Yeah.
Address malum hai mere ko. Or maybe the map I know.
Excellent.
You should do hard things. And the better thing is at the age these kids are in, they should not chase safety or comfort. They should chase adventure. They should start doing. Because sabki life mein X number Bhagwan has written tough things to do, right? Try and finish that up as early in life as you can so that when you're a little senior citizen like us, you'll have a more comfortable life.
So I hope that answers bringing up questions. It's answered many questions that I had also. Thanks for sharing that experience. Yes, what you're facing and how you feel about a certain thing is always contextual. I was feeling very down, and one of my friends once said, and I was feeling miserable for a whole month. And I said, I think I need to move to Greece. And John, he was, I think, heads M&A for WPP or something. And then he said, Sita will be just as miserable in Greece or in Hawaii or the most beautiful place under the sun if you're being a miserable soul. So yes, a lot of it has to do, it's very contextual what we think is right now, on luxury right now or peace. So key takeaways. Indulge in physical activity, good nutrition, keep your mind occupied, not with distraction, but with positive distractions. You can be distracted if you'd like it, watch something, but watch something positive, something that'll give you a laugh. Those are my key takeaways from what Sriram and Rahul had shared. And with that, I think any additional questions, just to sort of wrap it up now, we'll send the additional questions to you, Rahul. I will believe you till you answer them. And then any additional questions I have, send to Sriram as well. Can't thank you enough for spending the extra time also. Thank you so much. This is why we love people like you. You are the multiplication factor for a lot of aspiring individuals like ourselves. And Sriram, I know he's also got a tight schedule. It is so nice to see him relaxed and have a conversation. And thanks for being on, Sriram. Thank you. It was great. Just the session I thoroughly enjoyed, and I'm sure people who will have access to it will enjoy it. People who are online have enjoyed it. Thank you once again. Have a fantastic weekend. Thank you, Joe, for making sure everything
guys.
runs smoothly. Thanks, Rahul. Thanks again.
Thank you. See you.
Safe, everybody. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.